We are happy to announce that this episode of the SWW show is partially brought to you by Humble Bundle. Well, not really. We are part of the Humble Bundle referral program, and we just wanted to say that if you like really cheap games and maybe helping charity pending the Humble thing going on, all you have to do is go to humblebundle.com/?partner equals SWW. That's right, humblebundle.com/?partner equals SWW. And you just do your normal stuff, and it just kind of helps us get a couple bucks here and there. Maybe it helps AJ get his lights, maybe it's Mike camera, maybe we actually pay Corey for helping us out. But again, if you're going to go buy games anyway, it might be worth checking out.
Yeah, hey everybody. My name is Brian. I'm the kind of the lead developer at BGMer Studios, and I work on the Math Problem Killer. Well, let me stop you there. So, what's funny is like, yeah, we'll kind of go free form, unless you want to like do like super structured. Well, no, it was about the title. So like the for a long time that wasn't the title, and I'm curious to kind of see what your thoughts are for like the original working title. It was Math Problems from a Serial Killer, and for like gosh, like 9 months that was like the working title, and then we realized, yeah, okay, so yeah, okay, so here's my question. So the first one was Math Problems from a Serial Killer, and now the like our title now is Math Problem Killer. Which one do you like more? What's your gut uh response for the first one? Yeah, yeah, okay, all right, cool. Well, what's funny though is the decision was that's kind of like cool, like oh, like a lore reason, but the reason we chose to shorten it was just too long. Like the math, like math problems from a serial killer, and like they had too many syllables, and people were kind of struggling over it, so we had to shorten it. What's so funny though is like, what's so funny, like there really is kind of a laziness factor, even though we're not lazy, but there is a you want to kind of take the shortest distance from point A to point B. And so, like, if option A is like you're doing all these different points, but option B is like you can go from here to there really quickly, like you kind of want to choose option B. And you also want to, like, there's like, we're kind of those aspiring game developers, and I'm sure they're kind of listening to your podcast. You kind of want to have something that's kind of snappy, something that's kind of easily remembered and kind of like cool. And like I think Math Problem Killer is a little more sexy name. But anyway, that's my little digression from the title. Yeah, I know what's what's so funny is like it comes down to well, first of all, like game developers, like you say, we're kind of a nerdy group. Like the whole concept of like the bro game dev is kind of bullshit. Like game developers are really kind of nerdy, and well, yeah, exactly. It's like it's gosh, and I've worked at some like big studios, and there's like one out of like the 400 people at the studio. It's like that's not real. The rest of us are kind of like super nerdy Dungeons and Dragons people who like math, and so we are of course naturally drawn to math. But again, going on to what you were saying, like people don't. When we were kind of my buddies and I were kind of pitching the idea. Well, first, okay, I'll back up 2 more steps. The game initially started out as kind of a challenge of like kind of pushing ourselves to kind of develop and kind of better our skill set. And so we're like, hey, could we make a math game fun where you just walk into a room and kind of solve a math problem? Because like you say, people generally don't like doing math unless you're like a nerdy game dev. And so the question becomes like, well, why would you do that? And how the gameplay kind of works is, again, it's kind of this like serial killer crime thriller where as you walk into a room, there are different recordings, different pieces where he kind of tells you this. Well, let me back up again to kind of give the setting of the game. That'll kind of explain like the math problems. So basically, you're like an agent in this serial killer task force. In this serial killer is abducting people. But when he's kind of taunting the authorities, and he's telling them where he's taken his hostage, basically. And he's saying, come get this hostage if you can. And he's locked every door, as well as the crate that the hostage is locked in, with a code. And if you get... The whole point of the game is you need to figure out the right code to, again, proceed deeper into the dungeon, the facility, and there's multiple facilities, to rescue the hostage. And how you do that is the serial killer is kind of taunting and kind of bragging about how he's abducted this person. And so he will provide you with this fact pattern of this very disturbing fact pattern of like the horrible, heinous things he's done. But interspersed in that fact pattern are numbers. And so he'll tell you this kind of creepy fact pattern. And then he'll say, okay, now here is this math problem. And you've got to like subtract this from that and this from that. And it's this very complicated math problem. And then the answer of which will be the code that opens the door. And meanwhile, he's kind of taunting you and trying to make you mistakes. And so he'll give you like excessive numbers. But if you get it wrong, then the hostage is immediately killed. And so his big thing is like mistakes have consequences. The hostage is going to die. So it's kind of this crime thriller math-based game. That's kind of the game in a nutshell. It's not that complicated. So the order of operations are you're just doing like math, addition. You're doing like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and then a few square roots. But the complexity is in the fact pattern, is in the words. So the actual like order of operations are really simple. There's just a ton of them, and so at first glance, it seems like, oh wow, there's this huge fact pattern with this huge question. But as you kind of slowly work through it, and it's not difficult, it's just long, and then there is that kind of sense of accomplishment. We kind of designed them to be. It should take you 5 minutes in each room, and that's from listening to all the recordings, doing the kind of computations, and then solving it, and then getting out of the room. And so our goal is to say it's about 5 minutes per room. So they're not super complicated, but they are kind of interesting. So that's kind of how we bring it into it. And it's not just like when I say math problem, it's not like, okay, add 1 plus 3 or add 4 plus 5. You are utilizing the fact pattern. In fact, I could probably pull up like a sample to kind of illustrate that. Let's see right here. Documents. Let's real quick. Yeah, I know it's super crazy. All right, so here's one of I see it's cool. Pull up here. Hold on. Okay, so I'll read like the first like paragraph of so what we've also done is we kind of done like a voice modulation. So you guys seen the movie this like the what's it called Saw, where it's like a horror movie. Yeah, yeah. So we don't even like torture stuff, but like you know how the killer's voice is kind of modulated, like the pitch is down. Yeah, exactly. And so as I read this, that's kind of as you interact with the recording devices, that's kind of what you're going to hear. You're not going to hear like some dude's voice. You're going to hear a like a modulated, not robot voice, but kind of like the deeper pitch. So it sounds like kind of those. It's every time you hear like a it's like a hostage taker. Oh, so it'd be kind of creepy. And so it'll be something like, here's one. Um, so here's like a paragraph. So he goes, so I followed the three girls 2 blocks north for 18 minutes. They then turned right and walked 3 blocks east to 27th Street. It took us 23 minutes. Amy and Chelsea got into a white 2006 coupe, license plate 83756, and then drove away. Stephanie kept walking east 9 more blocks to 36th Street. She entered the juice bar on 36th Street. So as you can see, um, that there was a lot of numbers in that kind of fact pattern, and obviously he's going to be saying it super creepily, like, "Oh, I followed them" or whatever. But then after that fact pattern, you kind of come to the math equation. So it'll be like you will take, you know, you will subtract the amount of the blocks I followed them and add them to the street to this, and so it uses kind of the facts from the fact pattern to create the math problem. And that's kind of the basic gist of the stories, and they start kind of simple and they kind of get more and more creepy and weird. So it's very much kind of a creepy thriller. But what's funny, it goes back to at the end of the day, you are just kind of solving a math problem, but it's kind of cloaked in this super creepy kind of serial killer storyline. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, what's funny is it's like there is absolute value to, and that was kind of the goal of, because I mean at the end of the game, at the end of the day, the game is literally just walk into a room and do a math problem, open the door, and then walk in the room and do a math problem. But again, you kind of, and it also goes back to, and I'm sure you kind of dealt with this, kind of the barrier of entry for teaching the player how to play the game. And every game is different to where there's a certain period where it takes a while to teach the player how to actually play the game, and kind of the simpler you have it, the easier they can get into it. And what we want to do with this project is you can immediately play the game. Like there's no like learning curve. It's get in, interact with the recording devices, hear the fact pattern, and then solve the problem. And so we really wanted to not have, because I mean, I'm sure you've played a couple games where it's like, it just takes freaking forever to figure out. Like I was a couple months ago, I was playing Destiny 2 with a couple buddies of mine, and it's literally got like a 2 hour tutorial. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And then we did this one freaking like this like raid, and like you said, you needed a specific gun, and we were pretty high level guys. I mean, we weren't like max leveled out, but we were pretty tough, and we were just getting wasted doing this little like mission, and we're like, what the hell? And again, it's like you got to go back to the base and like craft these things, and then take them to this one dude and then craft these things and then build this gun, and then you can do it. It's like, oh my god. Like, I mean, I get it, if like for the immersion it's kind of cool, but like holy shit, like I'm like we're busy people. like we got stuff to do. And so Yeah, I know. Geez. Or for example, like so, gosh, when I was at Night Dog, we were doing like The Last of Us Part Two, and the whole like the freaking first mission is like 40 minutes, and it's just like a tutorial. It's like I don't I'm done. I don't want to be in a tutorial for 40 minutes. So again, it goes back to kind of the aspiring game devs or present game devs who are listening. You know, it's always something you got to think about of like the barrier of entry of the game. That was again, that was kind of a oh, like what did I work on? See, I did a lot of what were those levels? Um, have you played the Last of Us Part Two? Do you remember that freaking like giant rat guy? And towards the end, yeah. So I worked on that a bunch, that kind of level, and then kind of like all over the place, like navigations, nav mesh, and like fixing QA stuff, and this kind of a lot of all over the place, really. I will say though, I like indie studios more than I like AAA studios. Oh, oh, dude, man, it's so funny, like because like at Naughty Dog, um, that's exactly what it was. It was you have these teams, and they're working on this again, like this very small little section of the game, and you'll have people who, for the vast majority of the team, for like the mass majority of development, won't play the entire game and will have no idea what's going on but they're just doing their small little their little level, their little section, um, and I mean it looks really cool, but like yeah, it's there's only a few like departments that actually have kind of that holistic view of the game. And then yeah, going back to indie, um, you got your paws in everything. Yeah, yeah. You're building a level tomorrow. You're blueprinting or C++ing your um not C++, yeah, C++ing your mechanics, and then tomorrow you're working on the audio, and like it's if you enjoy learning, I think, and you definitely have like a self motivation. I think you do really well in indie. But if you don't have that self motivation, then you should stay away from it because it's tough. Because like you say, there's no producer kind of cracking the whip telling you to do this. So there's no lead telling you to do this. It's like you got to figure it out, and if you don't do it, it doesn't get done, which is cool, but it requires a certain personality for sure. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. But then there's also the one component of like constantly going back and like tweaking stuff. Like I've gone over these couple levels, and like they should have been like wrapped in golden, and they could have been like a month ago. But it's like no, I gotta modify this or switch this or adjust this or for example, one thing I'm doing right now with the Math Problem Killer is like cinematics. So because it's a very story centric game. Um, there's a lot of cinematics, or not really cinematics, but like cutscenes that kind of like create that like kind of spooky atmosphere. Because it's kind of I wouldn't call it a horror. There are horror elements, but it's more of a thriller. And so we have a lot of uh, kind of cool like cinematic views of like the woodmen with like the knives sticking out of their faces. Um, and again, you can tweak and fix those things till like the cows come home. But eventually, you got to be like, okay, no, this is done. I got to move on to the next one. I would say I think a horror is more gory and less like I think a thriller has got a good story. There's good pacing. It's I would say a thriller is like the much more educated, polished brother of horror. Like horror, I think is jump scares. It's pretty basic. That's gory. There's like a lot of screaming. It's like it's really kind of simpler. But I think horror or thriller is a little more polished. That's kind of how I would define it, I guess. Oh yeah, for sure. I also think that if you think about it like a thriller, like one of the jokes about horror is that everybody is a stupid person. You know what I mean? Like they're making stupid decisions. Whereas in like a thriller, you have like smart people making smart decisions. And so it kind of goes to like it's a little more real, like what you were saying. I would like to see a. I'm not really a big horror fan, but I think a horror movie where people made like smart decisions and still died would be so much more terrifying. Because like when you see like a horror movie and you get these stupid kids, it's like, oh, of course you died. You're freaking morons. But imagine seeing a horror movie where these people made the right decision every single time, and it still wasn't enough, and they still died. That would be, I think, terrifying. I mean, think about it, like, because I think what the scary part is, it's what spooks me about the horror is that you know if I'm in that situation, could I get out of it? And if you get these like stupid like high school kids making like oh whatever, like of course I'm going to survive. These kids are idiots. But yeah, yeah, I know, right? Or for that matter, like uh, yeah, that's. I mean, I can talk about how dumb some horror movies are because you're just going in for like the spooks and the scares, but it's like if I was here, Jason would be dead. Like this would not be an hour and a half long movie. Like I could solve this problem in like a half an hour. Just like a freaking like gun and mow him down. But yeah, it's about making smart decisions and kind of going back to like the math problem killer. A big portion of that is so like we one of the things I kind of don't really like, and I'm curious what your thought is. What I kind of call like the prophecy syndrome. Like so in Star Wars, Anakin's like the chosen one. I think that's the stupidest fucking concept. Like, oh, but I feel like the whole concept of destiny is kind of lame. I think so. Say you got two stories. Story A is like he's the destiny chosen one, and he kind of rises up and slays this person. Like okay, whatever. But then you got option B, where it's like, no, you're not. He doesn't have a destiny. He's just a dude, and he's choosing to in, go enter this dangerous field, go enter this horrible scenario where he could get maimed because he wants to protect, whatever. I think that's a much more compelling story than you're the chosen one prophesied by the books. It's like one is someone choosing to enter danger to protect, his community or family or whatever, and one is just like, hey, you're a dude, and this is just the thing I'm supposed to do. So I think like with the math problem abilities to kind of enter into these dungeons and recover the hostage because that's what your job in the team is. And so like when the levels end, it goes so like when the levels start, there's like a mission briefing. Like your boss is telling you like, okay, we got this message from the killer. Go in and get this hostage out. And then when you do that, then it goes to a mission briefing of like the head of the task force, and he's talking about all the things that have been done by the different teams to kind of give this kind of macro view of the story. And because we really wanted to step away from the fact that you're not like the Master Chief, even though I love Halo. You are just one member, a capable member of a very capable team trying to take out this dude. And that I'm sorry, go ahead. You mean like controls and like the effects of like the story in the game? Yeah, I think that kind of comes down. I mean, I think the reason is like it's harder to do that. You know, it's harder to make that kind of verisimilitude of like, you know, you're all capable people on a capable team. It's easier to be like, hey, you're the Master Chief, you know, and like wherever you go, you slay the Covenant. And so I guess you just got to be good, you know, you got to be a better game dev, and hopefully we did that. And so, but that's kind of up to the kind of the player to decide that. That you are that yeah, you're doing this kind of cool thing. So for example, in one, actually a couple levels, you will go through the dungeon and you'll save the hostage. And then during the mission briefing, he like the head of the serial killer task force will say, hey, good job, special agent. And then he tells them how like a SWAT team went and raided this this spot, and kind of gives like a briefing of what they did, kind of to kind of illustrate like, yeah, there's other things that are happening kind of in this world as opposed to you kind of being by yourself and kind of overcoming this. And it kind of does go back to what you were saying. Like it is difficult to show kind of show that like which say agency. And so yeah, but it's hard, I think. And I think a lot of projects probably fail to do that. Yeah, it's true. You know, it's what's funny. Like, oh, actually, a quick little side note. What'd you think of Mass Effect 3? You know, that game that gets so much hate, and I thought it was pretty good. I like Mass Effect 3. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is like kind of with like the commander Shepard of like being the hero. I think that's kind of what they were going for. And let's see, I'm trying to think like if we were, we, I think what we would do is we would have to like have like there'd be multiple like kind of Normandys and Shepards. Not we wouldn't call them Normandy, but they'd be like God, what was he called in the Mass Effect? Like what was his like Archon or like what was his role in the Citadel? Spectre, that's what it was. Spectre. I think we would do is we would have like multiple specters, and then you'd be like hearing about what they're doing to kind of show that yeah, there's multiple people going around the galaxy doing cool shit, as opposed to like it's just you. Because I don't know, man. Like I kind of like with Mass Effect, like there's these massive planets, and it's only Shepard kind of like solving the problem. I mean, I guess it's kind of it does it's you kind of get that cool like epic story of like, oh, the galaxy's on my shoulders, but like I think there's a component of like I don't know if I really buy it though. But that's kind of like a personal story thing. Oh man, dude, freaking Star Wars. That's like a that's a deep hole. Like, what are your thoughts on Star Wars? Like all the sequel trilogy and the prequel stuff. Yeah, I know, man. Like I think Star Wars is such a fall from grace. Like the first three movies, like New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, are phenomenal. And then for a long time, I did not like the prequels. I'll do a hot take, controversial hot take coming in, Mike. I think the Jedi are super overpowered and should be nerfed like hardcore. Like that they are like they broke Star Wars, I think. Like I think I know that's the whole problem. Like if you kind of build up this like order of like super mega knights and then they just get killed with Order 66, it's like no way that would have happened. Like and also like what's so funny like with the lightsaber is cool iconography and is probably one of the main reasons why it's so popular, but the lightsaber is stupid. You know what I mean? Like the and the reason is like if I'm a stormtrooper and I've got like a machine pistol and you've got like a lightsaber, like you can maybe block what one or two of my blaster bolts. You're not blocking like the 60 that I'm shooting at you. And I think that's kind of where they like Jedi stumbled. Like a squad of troopers should be able to just mow down like a Jedi. Like maybe he takes out like five or six with his powers. And like yeah, what's crazy is like they could have made the Jedi cool like I think it would have been cool if the Jedi were like bodyguards, you know, and they could like they could they were really close and they were kind of mysterious and creepy and like they could like grab with the force powers, but don't make them like generals and like super pop because then also like yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like well, kind of bringing this back to like a video game context. It's like when you get put on cheat codes. Cheat codes are cool for like 30 seconds when you got unlimited lives and you can like unlimited ammo. Kind of going back to the NES games, but after like 2 minutes, like it's fucking boring. Like it's you want the challenge, you want the difficulty. Kind of like how Superman, the character, because I used to be a big comic book guy. Superman's a broken character. He's too powerful. And so when you have someone who's like a freaking god, like your stories suck. And with the Jedi are too powerful. Oh, is that where he's like the superhero? Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. And that's why they left like separated. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Do you know what I would do? Yeah, no. Do you know what I would do with the Jedi? I would have it be where like using their force powers is like sprinting. Like you can sprint for like 30, 40 seconds, and then you got to like meditate to recharge. And it takes a long time to recharge. So that puts like a cap on their powers. Because after a while, like, listen, if you could like just force squeeze and like pick things up and like smash stuff with your mind, like, yeah, of course you're a freaking superhero. But if that requires a lot of effort and you're like spent after like 10 seconds, that puts like a cap on those powers and it makes you want to like be reticent to use those powers. But like with in the prequels, they're like flying around and jumping and like doing massive battles. Like you say, you have to have limits on something. Limits are important for the story. What was the like? eh, Have you played The Force Unleashed? Yeah, one and two. It was so funny, like how like one was really good, and then two was like 4 hours long, like super short. Um, yeah, it was so funny. Like you get to the end, like he's a clone. That's fucking dumb. But like, oh man, dude, freaking Star Killer. Although I gotta say though, the if you want like a cool like costumes, like the concept art for Force Unleashed is so cool, man. That's what they should have. Instead of using the stupid bathrobes in the prequel movies, they should have used like. Although I think Force Unleashed came out after the prequels, but, but the concept art for like the different stuff was so cool, and like what was he called? There was one that was super cool, like it was like Star Killer, like Sith assassin, and he had, like his fingers had like these like points and like blades. I'm like, oh man, that's so sick. Like, yeah, but like the concept art of just like the outfits would look way cooler. Because I'll be honest with you, like look at the prequels. Man, this is like freaking Star Wars podcast. Uh, um, the like the Jedi robe. I think what's funny is like so Obi-Wan in New Hope had that like those kind of like Jedi robes, and people were like, "Well, that's just the Jedi uniform." It's like there's no way it's the Jedi uniform. He's just wearing freaking bathrobes in the desert, and so they should have a better uniform if they're gonna do the whole like Jedi thing. But like, no, 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 we're gonna have bathrobes in Coruscant. It's like, no, come on, guys, get it together. Oh yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, yeah. We oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay. Oh no, we were initially it was going to be on August 29th, but we wanted to polish it more, and so we gave ourselves another like 2 months to kind of get like good polishing out there, so it's a more enjoyable experience. Well, so there's 27 levels, and there's between like 4 and 6 rooms per level, and so we've kind of got it to where each room is going to take you about 5 minutes to get through, and so you're looking at close to like 6 to 7 hours of gameplay, and that's if you were just moving pretty quickly, and so it'll probably take you longer. So you're looking at it's a pretty long experience, pretty long gameplay. I mean, it's not like a 40 or 20-hour game, but it's like between 6 and 10 hours. Um, and so and for price point, we're probably going to do about 24.99 because you're going to get like a cool because there really are kind of two components for the game. It's going to be a cool kind of crime thriller story. And it is very story centric. And it takes place over the course of 6 months, and every level is 1 week of that 6 month investigation, and you kind of get like the ups and downs, and like sometimes some agents get captured and they get, you got to go get help rescue them, or they get tortured, and like a copycat killer pops up, and then there's like the killer's using like guys to like send like you off on a mislead the task force. And so there's really a pretty intricate kind of story that takes place. And then there's also really pretty fun kind of math problems that are, I think, really kind of enjoyable. And it really is, we've got a lot of positive responses from the game, from the project. So it really is a cool crime thriller. Like we say, it's a crime thriller, math-based kind of dungeon crawler. And yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. Yeah. You know what's so funny? So like we initially for a long time it was going to be 14.99. That was going to be our price point. But then we found out that as we were kind of saying that there's this subconscious bias of like cheaper price points are lower quality games. And so what we found is like if you have 15's like kind of okay, like, but once you get to like $10, the kind of the initial gut reaction that we saw was people think it's not a very good game. You know what I mean? Or for example, when I see a game that's kind of come out and it's only been out for very recently and it's down a lot of money, it's like, oh well, then this game probably sucks. And so there is kind of this subconscious bias of like the cheaper the game, like the lower the quality. And so we kind of wanted to fight that a little bit. And so we kind of bumped it to like $19. And then because the game's so long, because you're getting a pretty long experience, we put it to 25. But I do agree with you. Like games are getting pretty expensive, especially in the AAA sphere. Like, what was it, like $69.99 now for like the average game? Like that's ridiculous. Oh, dude, the last game I worked on in Naughty Dog was the Last of Us Part 1 PS5 remaster, and there were some like bundles that were like you say, like $90, and I'm like, and there were a bunch of us there who were like, the freaking gall of this company to charge $90 for a game that came out like 8 years ago. Like I don't like the whole remaster like phase that's kind of going on. Like no, make something new. But yeah, I think games are getting pretty incredible. Although what's interesting is there is kind of the economics that AAA games are so expensive that you really do need to charge a lot just to make your money back, which is kind of why I like the indie sphere more, where you don't need to spend 30, 40, 50 million dollars to make a project. You know what I mean? Like for example, like with like the average AAA game is like between 30 and 50 million dollars. That's insane for like a 2-year game. I mean it's pretty unbelievable. So with regards to the pricing, I mean, the more kind of bigger cinematic budgets and like the bigger games, like that does come at a price. So I definitely understand why the prices are going up. As a gamer, I don't like paying $70 for a title. Yeah. You know what's so funny though? It's like that we're for sure it certainly is tough. I think the key though is like one of my buddies said, he's like, you know what, the key to success is you just got to make something cool and someone will want to buy it. And so but I think the key is like you just got to make something cool. And if you're going to be audacious and make something like a math game, like it better look cool and better be fun to play. And so what's so funny, like for kind of these indie game devs, there are tons of projects out there that are freaking gnarly and cool, and you just got to make something cool, I guess. Yeah, we got another project that we're kind of prototyping right now. I guess I'll give you guys like the kind of the index in the little scoop, I guess. And this is again, we might go forward, we might not, but we have one where it'll take place in like ancient Greece, and like this like giant spider army has like taken over this like Greek city, and you kind of go in on this rescue mission, but you got to like deal with these like giant spiders, and so we're kind of prototyping the mechanics. But that's kind of the cool theme that we're looking at. Yeah, well, we all don't like spiders, so we're just like, yeah, what's something that people don't like? Oh, giant spiders. Yeah, we'll do something with them. Yeah, sure, dude. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate talking to you.
The SWW show and all of its affiliate podcasts are podcast by me, Mike Maroney, and AJ Losi, sometimes by our contributors, including Corey King. You can follow the SWW show on social media at the SWW show, or sooner or later you go to patreon.com/SWW to help us out. Thank you. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day.